Hello everybody and welcome to Sin City Living. My name is Jason. I'll be bringing you today's episode. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons, and as always we'd like to offer our sincere appreciation to our patrons. We appreciate all the tips and support. Just going to go towards making the channel better, hopefully adding some more games such as roulette as soon as we are able to. If you're curious about it, go ahead and check the description of the video down below. And I hope all of our patrons are enjoying the exclusive videos we're putting out every single week for them. And I'm going to go ahead and jump into today's episode. Oh, if you would like us to film any strategies or have any questions or anything, please email us at sincityliving.lv@gmail.com. We'd be happy to do it for you. So for today, I want to respond to an email that we received asking kind of a follow-up on our question on the best ways to tip dealers. We went over setting up bets, cross-place bets, and then of course hard ways and such like that. And they were asking about the terminology that we use and the differences in the various terminologies. So let me show you guys how tipping will typically work. A couple different ways. Some of the more common ways: put us on the line with odds next to your own bet that is on the line with odds. And when it wins, we pay it, we take the entire bet down, and we go ahead and lock it up. We put it in our tip box. So even on a come-out roll where the odds would not matter, we would pay it, we pay the player, we would pay the dealer, then we would take the bet down, and we would lock it up in our tip box. By policy, all the tips, unless the player says something differently, if they just tip us as a standard tip, by policy of pretty much every casino out there, those must come down if they win. And the reason for that is we, as the employees of the casino, we're not supposed to be gambling. So we cannot make the decision to gamble the money that we are receiving. Plus, that tip right there, that is not my money. That tip right there, 1/200th or 1/300th of that is my money. I could, gamble a tenth of a penny if I were to so choose, or a third of a penny if I were to so choose, but I can't gamble other people's money. So the only person that can gamble that money is the person whose money that belongs to. And currently, before it is in the tip jar, that money belongs to the player. So the player can, of course, gamble it. So by policy, that has to come down. Same thing if somebody puts us with all the bets across. If, say, a 6 rolls, after I've paid all the other place bets, I will pay the dealer 6, take it down, and lock it up in the tip jar. That is how I'm supposed to do it. Is that my preferred? Honestly, no. I had this exact situation come up last night, and after the previous dealer on this side had dropped a few of these down, when I was over there, the player actually asked about what it takes in order to keep these up. There's a couple different ways to phrase this so that it doesn't have to come down every single time. Basically, it all boils down to player control. When you set these up, when you tell the dealer, hey, here's $6 for you, go ahead and cross on every single number. I want those player control. Awesome. Dealer's going to say, no problem, set it up. Player control is definitely the preferred method to dealer bets, because then they don't have to come down. The dealers don't like these to come down either. You may be looking at that going, sure, well, if something wins, you make twice as much. Yes and no. Dealers, just like the players, are always hoping for that hot roll. I have seen this right here, $6 across, turn into over $200 dropped into the dealer's tip jar, which basically meant that each dealer made a buck off of it, which is a lot better than making a third of a penny or tenth of a penny or something along those lines. And it all came down to player control. If it's player control, that means that it is still technically the player's bet, and they are deciding what to do with it. It does not become ours until we drop it down. So if I were to pay this 6 now, I would pay the 6 out, and then I would ask the player, what are we doing? The player says, press it. You got it. It's pressed. Or if the player says, same bet, You got it. Same bet, which means this right here, the winnings get dropped into the tip jar, but the original bet still stays up. It's not pressed, it's same bet. Just like if you had your own place bet, $6 place bet, and instead of pressing, you chose same bet, you would receive the $7 winnings, but your bet itself would remain up. Now, a lot of players, when they bet things like this, when they bet this across, they'll say player control, and then they'll tell the dealer, just do whatever you want with it, which is basically giving the dealer the control over the bets. This always puts dealers in an interesting situation. We love that bet, and I one time took this right here, $1.09, that was player control, and the player said, just go ahead and do whatever you want with it, into 64 across for the dealers. And then we just same bet everything from there. The reason it's an interesting situation is depending on what the player does. One of the things that we obviously don't want to do is have our bet bigger than the players. So I've had a situation where I had dealer bets that were player control, and they told us, press it until you want to collect it, where I had to start collecting, not because I didn't want to press anymore, but because the player hadn't pressed their bets at all. So I got us up to 32 across, and then it was just collect, because I couldn't make my bet larger than the players. That just doesn't look right. But all that's going to be up to the player on these bets. They say player control, cool, go for it. Player control it is. Now, the question that was asked also specifically asked what is the difference between player control and piggyback? There's not a lot of difference on that. Not a lot of difference at all. If you bet a hard way, hard 10, and bet $1 for the dealers, if a hard 10 rolls, you're going to collect $7. The dealer is going to collect $8, and their bet comes down, 8 and down. If you say player control, we're going to do that right there, which basically means you have a $2 bet and you are choosing to give us the winnings from $1 of it. If you say piggyback, we're going to set up the same thing. It's going to be right on top. Both of them pretty much mean the same thing. Player control and piggyback are going to have the same result in the end. The only time that might be different is when a player bets hard way. Say, let me get a two-way hard way parlay. If they say that, two-way hard way parlay, we're going to set it up piggyback, but it's not actually under the player's control. They specifically said parlay. They said a two-way piggyback parlay. What that means is the first time it hits, their bet will parlay, and our bet will parlay. However, once it is parlayed, it's not going to parlay again. It's going to be a collect and down. It would be 64 and down if it hits again. Whereas if they had said piggyback or player control, they would be in charge of the bet entirely, even after the parlay. But by phrasing it as a two-way bet parlay, they're saying we're going to parlay the first hit. After that, it's going to come down. Most floors are not going to let you just keep it up and continue parlay, unless the phrasing of it changes to piggybacked or player controlled. In which case, then we'll just leave it piggybacked, and they'll be able to do whatever they like to it. Now, most casinos do have a table limit for dealer bets, and it is typically much lower than the table limit for the players. A couple ways it can go. Some places just have a flat limit for dealer bets, such as dealer bets can't be over, say, $100 or a quarter in the hard ways or something along those lines. They will make exceptions for bigger players, but they'll have a kind of a standard limit to how high a dealer bet can go. The other side of that might be when you come into a table max situation, because theoretically these bets are the player's bets, especially if they say player control. Player control or piggyback means that technically it's still their bet. All the money is 100% theirs. I've actually seen a player, after getting paid over there, collect up the dealer bet too and put it in their rack. It kind of sucks, but the dealer really can't say anything because it's not actually their money. It's really, really frustrating with drunk players who have a tendency to just collect up everything. It's not the dealer's money. Sure, the player put it down saying, hey, it's a dealer bet, but the player can take that back at any time. The dealers cannot hustle for tips, so it puts them in a really awkward situation. Oh, you picked up the dealer bet, and if the player's too drunk to really pay attention, notice, or even hear what the dealer is saying, the dealer can't keep repeating it. The dealer's like, I guess that's a shrug and move on, because it was the player's bet. It's the player's money. It's the player's money until it's dropped into the tip box. Or if they just straight say it's a tip. If they say, here's $6, put the dealers across, they've made that into a tip. That's actually the reason why you may see a situation like this, where if the players had it picked it up once or twice, the dealer might say, yeah, let me go ahead and put that right up here. It's the exact same thing as over there. This would be where we put a dealer come bet, only now it's removed from the drunk player's reach, and we are able to collect it up. If the player were to ask, can I get that back? We don't really have a choice. Yes, we're going to have to give that back. So that is the difference between piggyback, player control, and how you can verbalize it so that the dealer bets stay the same. Instead of doing this, I actually know of a player that picks a number at a time. So give yourself a $6 6 player control. So we don't have $1 on each, but we are actually making some odds on this. Instead of making $6, we're going to make $7 on it. And he says player control, so we're always going to have to ask him, hey, what are we doing with this? Oh, same bet it. Cool. So we go ahead and drop the $7, but our $6 bet stays up. And then maybe 2 or 3 wins later, he's going to say, oh, give yourself a $5 10. You got it. Player control, of course. Not a problem. And that way we'll collect, but the bets themselves will still stay up. And every so often he may press it, but this player actually tends to press him himself. He'll say same bet, and we'll drop it down. Then he'll throw us another 5 and say, go ahead and press your 10. Okay, cool, thanks, very kind of you. Then after that, hey, what are we doing? What are we doing with our $18 payout? Go ahead and drop it. You got it. So that's the difference in the terminologies. I hope this answers the question, and we will catch you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Bye now.